Everybody, welcome to the Alianza Minerals presentation. Thank you for coming this morning. We're going to jump right into it and tell you that our company, Alianza Minerals, is very discovery focused, and we believe that's what's going to drive the share price for our investors and shareholders. And we work on making discoveries. Obviously, you need to drill to do that. And we drill using partners' money, like we recently did last summer down in Nevada. And we drill very selectively on 100% owned projects with our own funding. And we're doing that up in the Yukon on the Keno Hill Mount Haldane project. We're very focused in good jurisdictions, known mining jurisdictions, including the Yukon, the Keno Hill area, British Columbia's Golden Triangle, obviously Nevada for gold, and Peru. We have one copper project left down there. Our group is very experienced. With Jason and I, the group is rounded out by Winnie Wong on the financial side, who's a CA ex-Deloitte. I'm ex-Pricewaterhouse. Jason works with Rob Duncan. Both of them have worked for very large companies. Rob Duncan's worked with Rio Tinto right down to small juniors, as has Jason. Jason's been the CEO of several other companies, Rimfire, Kiska, and has done a fantastic job with Alianza. Our board is rounded out by a group of financial and technical experts and includes Craig Lindsay, who's one of our financial directors, John Wilson, who's a senior geologist, has worked all over the world in many, many projects, and Mark Blythe, who's a mining engineer and most recently worked with Nevsun on the sale of Nevsun to a Chinese company. Our share structure is basically self-explanatory on the slide that will come up with the presentation. And we really want to make the point that we've done most of the financings directly ourselves and keep in touch with our shareholders. And we really work with groups that are discovery focused, that are going to hopefully stay with us and back us. And many of them have been shareholders for many years until we hit that major discovery drill hole. So I'm going to leave it there and ask Jason to jump in on the rest of the company and the technical aspects and all the exciting things we're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us this morning. Alianza really has a portfolio of projects that runs from Yukon Territory, as Mark touched on, right down through the Cordillera Belt of North America, and we have projects in the Cordillera of Peru as well. But today I'm just going to focus on our Haldane property, and that's a project where we have crews on the ground right now. We are setting up for a drill program that will hopefully start by this weekend, if not by early next week. You can see on this map, Haldane is located in the Yukon. It's in the historic Keno Hill Mining District, a great place to be exploring. For, in our case, silver. The Keno Hill District is anchored on really the towns of Elsa and Keno, and you can see them on this map on the right-hand side. That light green claim block, that's the ground owned by Alexco Resources, who's in the process of bringing back online some of the deposits that they've been working on in this district. The production history dates back to the early 1900s. There's been over 100 years of production at Keno, with over 217 million ounces of silver produced at high grades. This is one of the world's highest grade silver camps and Canada's second largest silver producer. So a great place to be exploring. And you can see on this map, our Haldane project occupies the western end of the Keno district, adjacent to the Alexco holdings. Just a Google Earth image showing where the property sits in relation to the town of Mayo to the south of us. We're about halfway between Mayo and Keno City, and you can see nice road access right up into the main area of the property where we're working, which allows us to work year-round and or almost year-round and to do this program even though winter is setting in the Yukon. Even though this property has had over 100 years of exploration history, it really is underexplored. There's only been 17 holes drilled from surface to date, and we've got over 12 kilometers of vein strike length. So there's a lot of room for exploration here. There's a lot of room to hide significant vein deposits. Just looking at some of the infrastructure, of course, we're in a mining district just to the north of us. The Eagle mine is just opened, gold mine is just opened in the last year. That was in 2019. That project got going. Their access road runs to the northern part of our property. And you can see on the right-hand side, our access road, an excellent road into the property, no problems getting onto site. This is a view looking from the Hector Calumet portal, which is the largest silver producer in the district, looking off to the west, looking over the valley of where a bunch of the Keno district deposits would sit. Husky Southwest would sit in the treed foreground there, and you can see some of the power lines and tram lines that lead from Hector Calumet down to the town of Elsa, where they were doing some of the processing of the ores. Mount Haldane, our claims cover that mountain. On the back side is, on the west side of that hill, is where we're doing most of our work. Looking at that same area now from a plan view and from the geological perspective, the majority of the Keno deposits, the vast majority of the Keno deposits, are hosted within that sort of steely blue gray unit, which is known as the basal quartzite of the Keno Hill Quartzite Formation. That's a really important unit when you're exploring for Keno Hill style deposits, and it's really important that you have that stratigraphy on your ground. And as you can see at Haldane, we do have a good exposure of that Keno Hill quartzite formation, and we are truly dealing with the western edge of the Keno district. As I touched on, the exploration history at Haldane really mirrors that of the Keno district. The original discoveries at Haldane date back to the early 1900s, 1913 to 1916, around the same time that the original Keno discoveries were made as well. There was a little bit of underground development done at Haldane in sort of the 1918, 1919 range. After that, there was really nothing done until the 1960s, which involves some more underground work, development of a couple underground workings, and then a series of surface trenching and some underground drilling. And then the project sat again until sort of 2009, where another junior company got involved, drilled 13 holes from surface. We came along in 2018, took the project on, and really decided to take a step back and look at the project area as a whole. Not just the area that the old timers were in and they had extracted some of the high grade material from the property, but looking at the entire property, seeing if there was other vein systems we could identify. And we did that. In fact, at the Bighorn anomaly, which is on the left-hand side, the western side of this slide, we made a new discovery in our first and only drill hole at the Bighorn last year. So that was a real success for us, a real proof of concept that not only was there the vein mineralization that had been identified 100 years ago, but there was the opportunity to identify new veins, parallel systems to what was known already. So here's the Bighorn zone. This is the geochem anomaly shown in red here. We were targeting some high-grade silver in soil geochemistry, 63 grams silver and over 1% lead in soils, really high numbers. We drilled one hole right off of our road, the access road into the property, and we hit 4 veins. And the important thing here is not so much the grade that we intersected here, 125 grams silver over 2.35 meters, but the fact that we hit silver-bearing veins. Sort of the approach on these systems is identify vein faults that carry silver, and then once you've got the vein identified, now you can start to vector along that to find ore grade or higher grade silver shoots that you want to focus on. So we did that. We've identified the vein. The next step is now to find high grade mineralization within that vein fault.
Jason, can you reload the slideshow? It doesn't seem to be coming up.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Thank you. There we go. That's perfect. Thank you.
You see that now?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to go this way. So for us, we want to look back at the main area now, the Mount Haldane vein system, where we'll be focusing the current drill program, looking at areas such as the Middlecoff and West Fault, where some high-grade mineralization was extracted back in the early 1900s. So here at the Middlecoff zone, back in 1918, 1919, there was almost 25 tons of 3,000 grams per ton silver extracted and 59% lead. So nice high-grade mineralization. We targeted that with some drilling last year, hit 455 grams per ton silver over a meter. Again, high-grade. We're now tracking that to the south. And on this slide, you can see on the right-hand side, there's 3 drill holes that we've identified in yellow. Those are the prospective or the planned holes. And we'll drill to test that extension of the mineralization to the south down to hole UM02, which was drilled in the 1960s from underground. That hole intersected 2,791 grams per ton silver over just over a meter. So about 150 meters of vein strike length we're going to test, and some really high-grade mineralization that was found upon that. This is just a cross-section of our drilling last year, just showing some of the workings and results from that underground compared to what we saw in drilling. In addition to the 455 grams over a meter, we hit also almost 1,000 grams silver with almost 1.5 grams gold over a 35 centimeter section. And this was interesting in that there was a higher grade gold component here, almost 1.5 grams, not something we're used to seeing. So looking from the Haldane or from the Middlecoff zone back across the valley towards the West Fault, you can see the West Fault's identified up in the top left of this photo. And you can see the Johnson adit sort of in the middle there, where over 2 tons of 4,600 grams per ton silver. So another nice high-grade area. The West Fault is what we'll target in this next round of drilling as well. And that's really to follow up on some results from work that was done in 2009 by a predecessor. They intersected 320 grams per ton gold or silver, with over 1 gram gold from a 2.2 meter intersection. They intersected this vein fault without knowing it was there. They were actually targeting main zone mineralization, the main fault. And so this was a new area. It's never been followed up on. So we're planning 3 holes to test that target with the 2020 program. We'll test off to the south along strike, as well as down dip potential on that vein fault. So looking at the Haldane area, we know we're dealing with a Keno-style vein system. We know there's been small, high-grade production. We know that the veins here have the ability to produce some very, very high-grade silver. So we also know that we can find new vein systems. So when we put that all together, we're really excited to be back at Haldane, looking not only at what the old-timers had found and expanding upon that, but expanding upon the new discoveries that we made at areas such as the Bighorn zone. We do have other target areas that we haven't tested with drilling yet. We'll look at testing those as well. But with over 12 kilometers of cumulative vein strike to explore and only 17 holes from surface, we feel there's lots of room to make discoveries on this property. And then looking at the program for this year, the 2020 program will, as I said, will start up here this weekend. We'll continue as late as we can go, probably until late November, testing the Middlecoff zone, the West Fault, and then coming back in the spring of 2021. As soon as we can get in, we'll follow up at Middlecoff and West Fault, any success that we have there, and then we'll move off to the Bighorn and expand upon that discovery, and then potentially test some other zones on the property. We recently raised $3.2 million through a financing with Red Cloud. $2 million of that will be earmarked for the next 2 phases of drilling at Haldane. So just looking at our sort of major catalysts going forward, we do have a project in Nevada that we're waiting on the last 4 holes of results from that. That's a sediment-hosted gold target near Pioche, Nevada, and southeast corner of the state. But I think the big drivers will be the Haldane program here. Results will come probably late December into January, and then we'll be ramping up for the spring program to start up again at Haldane. So a good news flow for us going forward with some catalysts and potential for discovery. So I think just looking at Alianza, I think obviously the big driver for us right now is the drill program at Haldane, but we do have a portfolio of projects that are active. We're always generating new ideas, bringing new projects to the fore, and those become the next drill programs for subsequent years. So with that portfolio and diversity of stage of project, we're able to keep discovery opportunities in the mix every year. So with that, I'll wrap up the presentation. I think if there's any time for questions, we can do that now.
We definitely have time, Jason. And we've got a couple of questions here. First of all, with respect to the results from Haldane, so you're expecting them late December, early January, and then your view is that in the spring, probably in Q2, you'll be back on the ground. And can you give us an indication of what you think that second phase of drilling next year is gonna look like?
Yeah, I think it'll depend a lot on what the results are at Middlecoff and at Westfault. Certainly, those would be the two areas we'd want to go back in and follow up on any good hits from this program. But we really do want to get back at the Bighorn and follow up on that discovery as well. I think for this first phase program, though, it just makes sense to keep everything centralized as far as logistics in the winter. So probably looking at in the neighborhood of 2,500 meters all told in at least 10 drill holes.
Okay. All right. So a more meaningful program to really begin to sink your teeth into what these vein systems might look like.
Yeah. And I think that's when we raised the money here last month. I think that was the real key, was giving us a bit of runway so that we could do a more meaningful program and do the multi-phase approach, get some results back, use that to vector and target for the next round of drilling. Sure,
fair enough. Look, another question. You've got two projects down in the United States, one in Colorado and one in Nevada. Results expected through the end of this year on the Nevada project. What's the plan for those projects heading into 2021?
Well, the Nevada project that I'm talking about is Horse Thief, which is partnered with Hochschild Mining, and they're funding 100% of that exploration. So, really it'll be, once we get the results back from this program, we're targeting some higher grade mineralization that is following up on some 1980s drilling that identified anomalous gold in this area. To date, we've hit similar mineralization to what was found in the 80s. We really need to sort of focus into a hotter part of the system where we're going to see higher grade gold. So I think the winter here, we'll take that the data from the drilling, try to vector off that, see if there's any targets that we can identify there, and that'll be in conjunction with Hochschild. So they'll drive what that next program is. But anything that points to a new area that we should target, I'm sure they'll want to follow up on it.
Sure. That sounds good. Look, our time is up. Jason and Mark, thank you very much for the update on Alianza Minerals, and we look forward to seeing those results come through the remainder of the year.
Thanks, Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Andrew. Have a great day, guys.